So, great morning to you, dear Barbara. I'm so happy and grateful to have you here, part of my journey and my beautiful book. And thank you so much for taking the time and making the effort to share your amazing story with me and with the world.
Well, you're so welcome, Val. It's a pleasure and thank you. It's an honor for me. Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure for me also. I would like to start with the, please, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm Barbara Daoust and I live in Los Angeles. I've been here for more than 25 years now. I'm originally from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So that's where I grew up. And I majored in theater in university. And that's where I met the love of my life, Patrick Joseph. And he was American. So the two of us decided to move to the States, to the US, back in 1978. And we went to San Francisco. And it was there that we founded a couple of theater companies. So I started producing and directing and also directing for other theater companies in the Bay Area for, a good 5-6 years before I decided to apply to UCLA for my master's in directing. So I had some great successes at that time. I had a show that was selected from the city of San Francisco to represent San Francisco at the Kennedy Center, the Washington, D.C. Yeah. And so that was a great experience and a great success for me. And then I studied directing at UCLA. And from there, I got my master's. And then I spent the next 10 years in TV and film working with the Olsen twins, who are a famous celebrity twins who worked a lot in the industry. I also founded a acting academy for young performers, and a lot of those young performers are now doing very well and are very, very successful.
Wow.
And so when I was reaching the end of my contract with the twins, they were going off to university. It was around that time that I was really questioning what I wanted to do next, whether or not I wanted to continue. My desire was to really direct for TV and film, and that's the path that I had been on. I was very, very focused on that path. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I did a short movie. I directed it and wrote it about a friend who died of AIDS. And then it was called Letting Go. And 3 months later, my husband passed away. And it was 2 months before our wedding anniversary, our 25th wedding anniversary. So it spun me into a spiral of despair, depression. I had never been depressed in my life. I didn't really know what depression was like until I was faced with this tragedy. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really discovered how much I didn't love myself. So it took me on a path of self-discovery, personal growth. And what happened after that was I found his mother dead in her apartment. And then a best friend of 25 years was diagnosed with liver cancer, and she died, and I was present with her. Wow. And my father died, and he too was diagnosed with lung cancer, which is what my husband passed away from. My husband was diagnosed on May 5th and gone 3 weeks later on May 31st. Yeah, so it was a time of tremendous change. You know, and as Bob says, there are 2 ways that we change. And one way is through a traumatic event, right? Where, everything just changes instantly in an instant. Mm-hmm. And then the other way is through constant repetition of a new idea. And then after my father was diagnosed, he passed within 3 months. And then my 40-year-old brother-in-law, he was a skydiver, and he jumped out of a plane and his parachute didn't open.
Really?
And
Oh,
he was the instructor, and he was diving with somebody, a young man who also died with him.
wow,
And at that time, so it was a 2-year period of where it was just my whole support system, all my loved ones were leaving.
wow.
And I was miserable, just miserable. And I decided to stay miserable. I decided to do everything that I could to check out, to ruin my life even more, and I didn't realize that I had that part inside of me, that shadow inside of me. I always thought that I was a very positive person, a very uplifting person. um, I was a teacher. I was somebody who supported people. I was somebody who helped a lot of people. And I just didn't realize that inside of me, this perfectionist, I like to call myself a recovering perfectionist. I was striving. But there were a lot of things in my way because it wasn't perfect enough. I wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And as a result, I think I spent a good 3 years drinking heavily. I was never a drinker.
Really?
I was really risking my life in many, many ways, in very creative ways, actually.
What
Um,
did,
I'm
what,
sorry.
what did you do? How did you risk your
Um,
life?
I did crazy things like I drank a lot, and so I pretty much drank myself into a coma every night.
Really?
And I didn't have children. We didn't have children, and so I was getting up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't have anything waking me up, any purpose or any reason, except for my cats. But what happened also was my cat died.
Mm.
So, and it was also involved an encounter with people. What people don't realize when your life changes so dramatically and everything changes, what people don't realize is that you're also having to deal with bills that you have to pay just to stay alive, to survive. Um, that people say things that are so awkward and uncomfortable that you have to, in a state of mind where you're so depleted that your processing skills are not that high in order to process some of the things that people say to you, and people would say things like unbelievable things. And I wrote a book, and in my book, I talk about it as well. And they'd say things like, you've got to stop being a shit magnet, or, death does you well. You look great. I mean, like absurd things, just crazy, crazy things. And you're trying to process life, and but it's only through Bob's work that I now understand that I was really shedding in my old self in order to create the new version of me, the newer self. And but so one of the creative ways, for example, I remember I took a kayak out to the middle of the ocean. I had never ever been in a kayak, and I sat there for an hour and I prayed for the sharks to come and attack me.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And but the funny thing, I mean, this is the human part, or maybe it's spirit as well. Um, After an hour, I looked at my watch and it was close to an hour, and I thought, the sharks aren't here. I don't want to pay for another hour. And I was just too cheap to pay for the time to wait for the sharks. So I just really hightailed it back as fast as I could, so that I didn't have to pay for another hour. But that was I guess the human side of me trying to save me, and spirit as well. But and I remember I slept with all the doors of my house open, completely open, and praying for I mean, crazy stuff, praying for a serial killer to just take me out of this pain. I mean, I was doing some very absurd very bizarre
Wow.
things. Yeah, yeah. And because I didn't, all I wanted to do really was to, to be with everybody on the other side.
Mhm.
That's what I really, really wanted.
Wow.
And so, but as you can see, that's not where I am,
No.
you know. But it took about 3 years of just traveling. I went back to every place that my late husband and I had ever traveled. I scattered some of his ashes everywhere. I'm surprised that I was able to get on the plane with his ashes, because it was a time, that especially with 9/11, but I was never stopped. But I went back to all the places that we had traveled together to really, really
Wow.
search for meaning, So, um, and then about 3 years into it, I decided one day, I made a decision. As Bob says, make a decision and make it right. Just make a decision and make it right.
Mhm.
And what I decided was that I can remember the day very vividly, that I opened up, because I had flowers in my house from Patrick's memorial that were dead for over a year. My curtains were shut. I didn't, life was just too complicated. And I remember the day I made that decision to open up my curtains in my living room, and I said, I'm deciding not to be miserable anymore.
Mhm.
And from that time forward, I started allowing more people to help me, more people to love me, really.
Wow.
It was a journey of understanding love at a much deeper level. Because
Wow.
at one time I thought that love was just the love I experienced with my late husband.
Mhm.
I didn't understand that there was a lot more love that I could allow into my heart from a lot of other people who were willing to be there. And I
Mhm.
could see that I really didn't want people to think that I was okay and doing well, because I thought that they'd think that I was no longer in love with my late husband. And I was still deeply attached and deeply in love. And so I could see where I was holding on to any sign to let people know that I was still in pain, because the first thing that people want to say is move on, move on. It's time to move on. But, when it's not your time to move on, those are not comforting words.
Yes.
They're just not. And then I started to seek more personal help, and I attended a spiritual psychology master's program at the University of Santa Monica in Los Angeles. And that's when I started to really heal and grow more into self-love, really a journey of self-love. And when I was there, things were happening to me that got my attention, that just started to get my attention. And I started to wake up, and I started to come alive again. I mean, I think I had been very successful in my entertainment career, and I had been very confident, but I really didn't know that I didn't know how to love myself. I wasn't aware. I had been living my life from the outside in, instead of, as we know with Bob's work, from the inside out.
Mhm.
And I was just constantly seeking approval outside of me. So, it was a big wake up. And when I lost myself, I had very low levels of serotonin in my body. My biofeedback doctor was very concerned because I had very little serotonin. And when you have very little serotonin in your body, you are close to dying. And I realized that there was a lot more help that I did need. And I couldn't even, like, I'm looking at you in the eyes right now, but I couldn't even look anybody in the eyes when I've just shut down. I was a puddle of tears on the floor trying to pick myself up. And I used to call them
Did you go out in this period of time? You
I
went.
traveled a lot. I
Mhm.
traveled. Yes. Yeah. but I spent hours and hours and hours and hours just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, just releasing, a lot of tears, a lot. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a hard time. It was a very hard time. And then I didn't complete my master's at the um, University of Santa Monica because I had a project, and my project, everybody who goes to this program creates a project. And so I created a project that got me so busy, I didn't have time for school anymore. And it was what I created, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later about the law of attraction and and the law of transmutation as well. So, and from there, I studied it was called the Quantum Success Coaching Academy. I certified as a law of attraction coach through Christy Whitman's program. And I had no intention of being a coach. None whatsoever. I was there to really heal myself and to study these laws and to understand, how to live my life differently. And I had to work with clients. And when I was working with clients, I started seeing, oh my goodness, they're getting results. This is amazing. And they're getting them very quickly. And so people that I worked with that had 25 years of, therapy, finally they were getting results in their lives because they weren't telling the same story over and over and over again. That, and I believe in therapy. I believe it has its place. Mm-hmm. But I strongly believe that this is the work that helps people grow and move forward in their lives. Mm-hmm. And then I met Bob.
Great. So this is I'm coming to my, first of all, I want to tell you that you're so brave and so strong. And you're amazing that after all these strategies, you're here with me and as such an inspiration woman. So
thank you.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a second. I will stop 1 second the interview. You see? Okay, let's continue. So our second question is, when did you first come across Bob Proctor's material, and in what situation were you in life?
So I came across Bob Proctor's material at an event called Making a Million Look Small.
I heard about it.
You heard about that. And Peggy McCall, Gay Hendricks, and Mary Mann Morrissey were also involved. And at this time, I had started my coaching practice. And I was calling myself at that time a law of attraction coach, because I had certified in the Quantum Success Coaching Academy. And I started to study more neuroscience and went down that path and studied a lot of work around the brain and the mind. And at this event, I was really seeking a way to grow my business. Because
What year was
I'm sorry?
In what year was this event?
This must have been around 2012.
Okay.
I think it was around 2012. Mm-hmm. Because I graduated from the Quantum Success Coaching Academy in 2009, and I had a couple of years of coaching experience before I met Bob. But I had always been a teacher. I was an acting coach for years and director for years. The big problem or struggle.
So to our second question is, when did you first come across Bob Proctor's material, and in what situation were you in life?
Well, I came across Bob Proctor's material when I went to an event called Making a Million Look Small. And he was there with Peggy McCall, Gay Hendricks, and Mary Mann Morrissey. And I had been coaching as a law of attraction coach for a couple of years by this time. But the struggles I was having were basically around growing my business. really having a business as a coach, as a consultant. And I was very, very effective at helping others be successful. So helping myself be successful was the desire that I had, how to grow my business, how to make more money, and how to really combine a business mindset with spirituality. And that's what Bob does. That's what Bob offered. It's really being, focused on success principles, having a success mindset, forming the habits of a highly successful person, and having your mind and your goals set in such a way that you're going to grow. And there were concepts that he shared that no matter what program I had gone through, no matter what I had studied, these were some concepts that I had never heard before. And I was going, how come I haven't heard this before? How come I haven't heard anything about paradigms? How come I haven't heard anything about self-image? How come I haven't ever heard about the terror barrier? Why? It started to make sense that I was stuck in a pattern of the familiar. I was stuck in the pattern of what I already knew, even though I was growing. I was growing, definitely, and I was having better results. But that sales conversation and selling myself, and as I've talked to many, many consultants, and when we have training with Bob in Toronto every few months, it's always that sales conversation that most of us struggle with. Selling ourselves, selling our product, really, understanding enrollment, understanding how this material benefits others. It's really about getting the ego out of the way. And Bob's material was just so powerful and effective that that's when I made a decision to sign up to be a Thinking into Results consultant with the Proctor Gallagher Institute.
Mm-hmm. What's happened from that moment, and what did you start doing differently to change your results? You said that you met Bob Proctor the first time in 2012. Okay.
Yes. So I signed up to be a Thinking into Results consultant in 2013. Mm-hmm. And in about a year, and a little bit more than a year, my goal and my intention for myself was to double my practice and triple my income. Mm-hmm. And as a result of doing Bob's work, that's exactly what I did. So I was able to double my practice and triple my income. And the big difference really was Bob saying at the very beginning, when I started certifying in the very first month, Bob said, start some mastermind groups around his book, You Were Born Rich. And I just said, but, I'm not ready. I haven't read the book. And he just said, do it. So as a lot of people will tell you, when Bob says, do it, you do it.
Yes.
And everything inside of me was just screaming in doubt and fear and worry, and the terror barrier was just at a very high level, and the excuses, the justifications, the rationalizations, but I'm not ready. I haven't even read your book yet. I'm not ready to start. And he said, do it. So within a couple of weeks, I had 4 mastermind groups with about 10 people in each of these groups. And the crazy thing is I still hadn't read the book. So I just decided to do it and focused on being prepared one chapter at a time. Every time that I went to a meeting, I was prepared for that meeting. And then I started to see change happening inside of me. I started to feel more confident. I started to risk more. I started to enjoy myself more. My attitude was changing. My focus was stronger. My will was stronger. And every step of the way, it still wasn't without fear and more fear and more fear. And even as I, continued to certify, what Bob says is you must start selling the program now.
Mhm.
So after the mastermind groups, I was like, I'm not ready to sell the program now. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not certified yet. I'm not certified yet. So again, it was the idea, do it, just do it. So I started selling the program, and, it started with a handful of people. And from there, I saw the amazing results that they were getting. And that helped me. It inspired me. It encouraged me. It motivated me. It allowed me to get out of the way and trust the material and trust that the material works. And light bulbs were going on in everybody's minds. And, and that was back in 2013. And what I never expected to happen was that everybody who joined the program as a client for me, I have clients who have repeated the same program over 10 times.
Wow.
So they just keep on investing and investing in themselves and investing in the work and being accountable and showing up and just going after the next goal and the next dream. And and so every time they come back to the program, they're a newer version of themselves. And as Bob says, you'll need a telescope to look back at who you were. I'm constantly, even for myself, so surprised. I'm walking around all day long saying, oh my God, did I think that 2 years ago? Oh my God. And not only that, I thought I was right. And I'm now going like, who was I? Who was I to think that way or to be that way or to even act that way? And then I'm now in a place where I can laugh because I understand the behaviors. I understand the paradigms. I understand, the limitations now quite differently. So it's an elevated way of thinking that I really am grateful for.
Yes. Yes, it's amazing to see ourselves back then. It's like you feel you're not the same person.
That's right. That's right.
And you don't like your old self.
No, I'm constantly walking around apologizing to my late husband, saying, you may not be here in physical form for me to apologize to, but please forgive me for acting that way at that time, or please forgive me for even thinking that way at that time, or please forgive me for the limited mindset that I had at that time. I was doing the best I knew with what I had at that time. So I'm no longer beating myself up for it. In the beginning when I lost him, I was beating myself up all the time that I couldn't apologize for my behaviors or the things that I regretted having said or having done. But now I completely understand differently who I was, where I came from, and who I am now. And, and there's so many parts of me that I haven't yet met.
Mm-hmm. By the way, it's really interesting for me. I don't know if you want to share. How did you met your husband?
I met Patrick in theater school back in 1975. I remember being in a theater history class and he was sitting in front of me. I didn't really see his face, but I saw his hands. And the way that he held his pencil was very intriguing to me. I had an attraction to his hand. And then of course when I really looked at him, I was instantly attracted to him. And we went to a Halloween party together and we danced together. And after our dance, I remember sitting at a table with all our friends in the theater department, and he reached over and he took that hand and he placed it on my lap. And at that moment, I just felt it. I just knew that we were to be together. That was instantaneous connection.
Wow.
Yeah.
In what year did you met him?
So that was in 1975.
1975.
1975. And then we married in 1978, and we were together for 28 years.
Wow.
So, and like I said, it was 2 months before our 25th wedding anniversary. But you know,
Wow.
the interesting thing in Ball is that Patrick's father died when Patrick was 2.5.
Mm.
And Patrick carried with him a belief his whole life that he was going to die young.
Really?
Yes. It was a big source of confrontation and upset between the two of us, because every time he said that he was going to die young, I was very upset. And he died at 47.
Wow. He knew.
He knew. He knew. And I had a dream also as a young person about his dying. So, you know, on another subconscious level, I probably knew too.
Yes. It's amazing how these things are working in our mind,
Yes.
and that we
Yes.
are energy, and we know. It's like the mother know before her child is going to die. She feels something. It's something.
Yes.
It's incredible, this feeling and energy that we have.
You know, and it's interesting because a few months before he passed, I was in an Artist Way workshop, and we had to recite a monologue. And the monologue that I chose was about a 40-year-old woman talking to her husband who was diagnosed with cancer, and that she wanted him to come home. And I recorded that video in my practice, and I showed it to Patrick, and he was gone 3 months later.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
you knew it and he knew it.
Yes.
Both
Yeah,
of
I think
you.
so. Yeah.
It's like the sixth sense that we have, that we don't know it exists, but we never really developed it till the level to understand it.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Wow, it's interesting so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so we continue with the question: what paradigm did you discover that you need to change from the moment that you met Bob Proctor?
You know, the paradigm that I discovered that I needed to change was really when the second time that I was doing thinking into results for myself,
Mhm.
I discovered a boredom paradigm, because I had already done the program. I already had results from the program. Why do the program again? You know, when now it's time to um, look for another program.
Mhm.
So when I committed to no, there's a paradigm here, because Bob says repeat, 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 repeat.
Mhm.
And that's when you will start to hear things that you didn't hear the first time. And
Mhm.
it's illogical. He'll talk about it's illogical to read the same book over and over and over again. But really, if you read a book once, you won't even be able to tell somebody what the book was about.
No.
So we think we know the information, but it's, you know, it's just on a conscious level that we say we know it, but we really don't know it. We don't know how to apply it. And the idea is to repeat, 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 so that you can start to elevate your consciousness, become a newer version of yourself. And so I saw that this boredom paradigm, I don't want to do the program again. I've already done it, was really about, I was starting to look for another program to help me. And the real paradigm that I identified was that I was always getting ready to get ready, to get ready, to get ready. So I have master's degrees, I have licenses, I have certificates, I have workshops, I have seminars. And you know, and the truth is that the real paradigm is that I'm not enough, you know. And what I discovered, that the big lie that I was telling myself was that I didn't know enough. So I had to know more and know more and know more. And I wasn't comfortable really stepping out into the world and being a professional, being a business person rather than being a student. I'm an eternal student, and I believe that I'll always be an eternal student, but to be careful about when I go to study, that I apply it, that I live it, that I share it, that I become visible. And the getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready kept me small. It kept me invisible. It just kept me being a good student. It kept me being a grade A student, which again goes back to seeking approval outside of myself, in order to say, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Am I good enough? And so it was really interesting. So to see that in myself, and I've committed to do thinking into results for myself. I think I've maybe done it for myself over 20 times now, just like with my clients who have repeated it with me over and over and over. Yeah. And then from that place, I get to grow my business. And instead of occupying all my time going to seminars and workshops and listening to everybody else telling me what to do, because I'm doubting that I know enough.
Yeah.
That was a big paradigm to see.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice discovery.
Yes.
It's really difficult to discover. I think that's why a coach can help you to see things that you cannot see in yourself. It's really difficult to discover these paradigms.
Yes. Well, when you're the picture in the frame, you can't see the picture.
Exactly.
That's why, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's why you need the help.
Absolutely, it's why you need the help. I think I may have even shared this with you at one point, but, it's like I directed actors. Actors need a director. The actors who think that they can do it without a director, usually end up not doing very well. And even the difference between myself and other consultants or other coaches that I noticed, those of us who are achieving more success in our business, is because I never stopped getting coached. I've never stopped having a coach or having an accountability partner. I think I have maybe 5 accountability partners. So
Yeah.
It's because, as you said, to see oneself in the frame is challenging. It's a lot to expect of oneself.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain to somebody that don't know what is accountability partner? What is it?
So an accountability partner, for example, I've had a woman for the last 7 years that every day I write out my actions, my goal achieving, my forward moving, goal achieving actions, and then I'll send them to her every day.
Mm-hmm.
And every night I send her my follow-up, what I did achieve, what I focused on. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing that every single day for the last 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
And then I also have another partner that we check in. He too is also a coach. And so we talk once a week and we hold each other accountable for what are our next steps and what are our dreams. And we call ourselves partners in believing. And then I have another partner who's a thinking into results consultant. And in the beginning, we committed to reading a chapter, as Bob encouraged us to read a chapter from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill on persistence. So we talked every morning and read the chapter out loud for maybe about 3 or 5 months. We did that.
Wow.
And we're still connecting once a week and talking about our wins, our successes, our desires, our needs. And so it's a way to show up. It's a way to, acknowledge. It's a way to express, desire and to support one another. And when you have that, and that's why a lot of my groups are successful and the people are successful, because they show up for each other. And if they're not showing up, they're not accountable. And you'll never outperform your self-image. You'll never outperform what you already know. And sometimes it takes other people's consciousness. It takes a mastermind. It takes more than one, in order to expand one's imagination. Otherwise, we're just limited by what we already know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's very important.
Yes, it's very important. If I didn't have my accountability partners, I would just do whatever was convenient for me.
Exactly. It puts you in the little pressure that you need to move the things that you don't like to move.
That's right. As Simon Gray says in his article, The Common Denominator of Success, right? Highly successful people form the habits of doing things that failures don't want to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm constantly talking to my clients about, what are the things that you don't want to do, but you're willing to do them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I don't want to exercise. I don't wake up every morning saying, yay, I'm going to exercise, but I'm willing to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't wake up every morning saying, I want to enroll a client today, and it's, then it's easy to do that. It's that I'm willing to do it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And how long did it take you to start seeing results?
It took me maybe about 1 month to start seeing results. Mm-hmm. I started feeling it more on the inside. And that's where it starts, right? So that it starts on the inside in order for it to transmute to form on the outside. So I could, maybe it wasn't showing up in my bank account the way I expected it to. I remember paying a lot of money for the program and expecting to see that return immediately, but I needed to do more work in order for that to happen. So my commitment to the work, being steady with the work, consistent and in the repetition, and trusting, right? When you start to understand more, as Bob says, understanding leads to faith. And when you start to have the faith, mm-hmm. then you relax more, and all the opportunity that's already there, you start to see it. You start to feel it. You start to respond to it. And so instead of, like I say to most of my clients, here you are and here's your goal. And most people think they have to keep going till they hit their goal. But I like to say that as you are in the desire, and as you take the steps to the desire, there's going to be opportunities along the way, people, places, circumstances, and the goal starts to come to you as you move toward it. And then there it is.
All right. What was the most difficult moment and the best moment in the process?
I think the most difficult moment was paying.
Yes.
Really, the buyer's remorse, the anxiety, the terror that I hit. But I knew it was important because in the past I had paid $5,000 for programs and I didn't do them. It was just, I was just boggled by why would I pay so much money for a program and not do it? But my paradigms were stronger. They were just stronger, and I didn't realize this. And I didn't realize the value in when you invest in something that's a high ticket price, that it raises the motivation and it raises the desire to create change. And that's why I don't buy programs now that are not going to have a higher ticket price, because I know I'm going to find excuses why not to do it. And but it was challenging. I was like, I invested a lot of money, which meant investing a lot of money in myself. understanding that Bob's program, I would tell, and I told myself and I told my clients this in the beginning as well, that Bob's program is a Cadillac program. It's the Cadillac. And you're going to put on your seatbelt, get ready, because you're in for a ride. And, and that's what I've seen in all of my clients, by the time that they've invested the higher ticket price, by the time they get to about lesson 4 or lesson 5, things are changing and things are different, and everything inside of them wants to quit, wants to run away. But because they've invested the money, that piece is keeping them in. It's keeping them in the game. And that's what it did for me. It kept me in the game. And, there was a month where I didn't have the money to continue paying for the program, and they stopped the program for me. And I need to continue. And I did everything in my power. I took a no matter what approach. No matter what, make it happen, because my desire was that strong. And when I help my clients find that strong desire, it becomes about, that's your chief aim, and you do everything, no matter what, you do everything you can to keep the desire alive. As Napoleon Hill says, keep the chief aim, keep the fire alive. And there's going to immediately be fears, doubts, and worries that are going to try to sabotage the dream. And they're strong, and they work hard, and they're good, and they're clever, and they're seductive, and they're like, come on back to what you know. So it was good that, I was stalled there, and then I had to figure it out for myself. That's when you get to pull up out of you the parts that you never knew existed.
So what was the best part?
The best part was the results I saw in my bank account.
It's a very good part.
It was a good part. But at the same time, it was really the best part, I have to say, it was seeing the results for other people. Because the doubts are still there always. The paradigms will still fool me into, things aren't working. But, I see it working in so many people. And that's where faith takes over. And I have to, get my ego out of the way, get myself out of the picture, and understand that I'm the messenger. I'm helping Bob deliver his message. And, I have my messages that I'm asking other people to help me deliver. And then they have their messages. It's really all so interconnected. And, and people want to have monetary results for themselves as well. So the joy is, and, I have clients who have had much better results than even myself. And that's very exciting to see. And it creates more desire for me to keep in the work. Yes. Because no two people have the same paradigm. So no two people can ever be compared. No two people.
No. Correct. Yeah. When you hear the words universal laws, what does it mean to you?
So for me, universal laws, at one time, I didn't, at one time I believed in God, and I grew up on the grounds of a mental institution. And I remember at 16 witnessing an event when I was working there that was so devastating to me. I decided that there was no God. It couldn't be possible for there to be a God given what I was witnessing and seeing. And so I always, had the interest in discovering and wondering about, well, what is all this about anyway? What is, it's a search for meaning. And when I started understanding the universal laws, to me, it's about co-creation and having an infinite intelligence, a higher power of energy, in source energy coming to and through me in order for me to breathe in order for me to receive information, consciousness of others, in order to co-create and to engage in energy. So the laws really helped me to focus on order, putting order into my life. And, you know, as Sandy Gallagher often says, order is heaven's first law. Ernest Holmes, the Science of Mind leader, also says that as well. And so when we understand different laws and we can articulate what that law is, it helps to focus the conscious mind and the subconscious mind in order to make decisions, in order to use imagination and will, and as Bob shares, you know, the 6 mental faculties, so that there's design. It's living life by design instead of living life by default as it's thrown at you, you know, and see where the spaghetti sticks, you know. And so I'm a very scientific person, and I love to understand physics. So there's the law of physics, you know, there's the law of gravity, there's, you know, all these laws just to articulate where to compartmentalize, where to put order and structure, because we really need a plan. Just like anything, we need a blueprint to build a home. We need a foundation to know where to begin, and then from that place expand and keep expanding. You know, we need a strategy to climb to the top of Mount Everest. We need the tools to, you know, to know that we're going to use a different tool to get over an obstacle, or we need to have a certain type of shoe in order to, you know, traverse ice. We need to know that these are tools that are available to us so that we can strategize and focus on the thing that's right in front of us, knowing that it's the compound effect, right? That you consistently take steps that move you in the direction of your dreams. And these universal laws are there to support that, to engage you, to inspire you, to motivate you, and to help you focus.
Can you talk about the effect of a specific law on your life? You want to choose one?
I've got so many. You know, maybe I can share a few, and then we can select whichever one.
Just
okay.
Share whatever you want.
Okay, so let's just look at the law of transmutation of energy, you know, moving into form. When I was at the University of Santa Monica, how I started to come out and start to live again was I had a vision, and it was during a meditation. And in this vision, I saw my late husband and my late father holding me up like this, and I was barefoot, and they raised their arms and lifted me up to the sky. And in the sky, my arms were up, outstretched, and in the sky was a picture of a vessel. And this vessel was a piece of jewelry. And I had been thinking about an affirmation. We were taught how to design a personal affirmation. So my personal affirmation is, I'm genuinely sharing loving kindness for myself and others as I revitalize hope and raise conscious living for the highest good of all. And it was when I started saying that affirmation repeatedly over and over and over again that bizarre things started happening. People were coming up to me in grocery stores and saying, "You look so kind. What's your name?" I'd be like, okay, you know, and I was still grieving, you know, I was still like checked out. And I would go to a store to buy a vacuum cleaner, and the cashier would say, "I want to give you a discount." And I'd be, "You can do that?" And they'd say, "No, but I'm going to give you my employee discount because you look so kind."
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And then I'd be like, what's this about? And then I started to say it more and more and more and more. And instead of thinking so much about my pain, I started to come forward more and look people in the eye and not judge myself so critically or so harshly. And I started moving out of self-loathing. Actually, that's how hard I was on myself. And so from that place, I thought, I can create a vessel, and this vessel will hold my affirmation. So I can hold it close to my heart and carry my affirmation close to my heart. So the journey that I went on was how to create my vessel, and I did. I just kept visualizing it, talking about it, speaking that I was creating something unique, and eventually, within a short period of time, maybe 3 months, I was already in production with a jewelry designer downtown. I brought them my design, and I'm wearing it right now. I can show you. So this is my affirmation vessel.
Wow, amazing.
And I put my affirmation inside, and I wear it close to my heart. And so I did this, and what started to happen, I kept repeating my affirmation over and over and over and over, and it started again helping me, come back to life. But people started to ask me if they could have one. Could they have one? Could they have one? So that's how I started getting into designing a line of vessels for self-love, serenity, love, abundance, empowerment, and healing, and grief as well, grief healing. And then that production, I was doing it originally in Los Angeles, and it ended up, I had a representative who brought it to China so I could make it more affordable for people. The price of silver went really, really high, and so I was wanting to make it affordable for people. And then I designed a package. So you can see there's the whole butterfly.
Can you turn it a little bit like this? Yes.
Like,
yes. So it will
right.
not shine because of the.
Yes.
Okay, I can see it perfect now.
And then from there, I wrote my book, True Love, True Self, A Journey to Self-Love.
Wow.
I tell people that I lost the love of my life in order to find out I didn't know how to love myself. And so it really became a journey of self-love and helping other people become true to themselves. And my mission is, has become to help people stop their lies to themselves and to be truthful to who they are. And then I also have a guided visualization CD, and
Wow.
as you see, it's all the image of the butterfly, because the butterfly became so important for me. It represented how I went through being in the cocoon, being lost, being confused, being frustrated, not knowing what was next in my life. Who was I? And that muck and that goo that I was in, and how intense that was for me, and how what happens to the butterfly is that the old cells are actually dying because the new cells, the imaginal cells, are actually eating the old self. And that the butterfly needs to build strength in order to pump the blood through its veins, to spread its wings in order to break free. And then the view from up high is a lot better than the view from the caterpillar just seeing right in front of it. So that's how I just had this intense desire to carry an affirmation close to my heart. And I couldn't find anything like that out there. So I just kept visualizing and, imagining and intently desiring it until one day I just created it myself.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Because this card, I always I don't really find a way and where to put it. And this is on your neck. It's so easy and incredible idea.
Yes,
Wow,
thank you.
nice.
Thank
For
you.
the women's, it's better idea.
Yes, yes. I even designed some men's versions, and I had, and I was surprised. I have a lot of men wearing them.
Really?
So, yeah, yeah.
In
But now,
the same design or different design?
all different designs. I have about 7 different designs, but they're all sold out now. And I've become so busy as a consultant in designing programs and and masterminds that. I think it might have another life in the future. I was at an event recently at the Paradigm Shift, and there were people who were asking me about it. And I was getting for about 2 months, I was getting a lot of intense energy, bringing it back. It's been about 5 years since I've worked with it or sold it to anybody because I've been so busy. Yeah, yeah. But I still wear it for myself, and also like the earrings that I wear. All my jewelry is what I've made for myself, and my
Wow.
earrings say "I am."
Oh, nice.
So it's really just anything that can remind me, any tool to remind me to be truthful to myself, and that's what I can't believe actually that I keep needing reminders the way I do, but the paradigms are so strong that if we get lazy, and forgetful, this is a lifestyle. This is a discipline. This is a way of being. And it takes daily commitment to being this way and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Otherwise, when you're out there in the so-called real world, we're just, just really challenged with the old ideas and the old programs that keep coming up because 95% of the population are living from the place of victimhood,
Exactly.
and lack and fear. The other law that I love to talk about is the law of attraction and vibration. And when I first started with Bob, one of the affirmations we were told to say daily was, Bob Proctor, not only am I going to equal you in your achievements, I'm going to meet you at the post and I'm going to pass you at the grandstand. And to say it in the mirror every day. And I would say it, but I didn't believe it, And as Bob says, you don't have to have 100% belief. It's just you need to be convicted and sometimes let somebody else have the belief for you. And so I kept saying it and kept saying it, and I'd roll my eyes as I said it, and I'd be like, right, as if I'm ever going to pass Bob Proctor. I don't think so. This isn't possible. And I was in a mastermind group, and somebody said to me, one day you're going to create your own program. And I was like, oh, I've been saying, Bob Proctor, not only am I going to equal you in your achievements, but I'm going to meet you at the post and pass you at the grandstand. And now, like a couple of months later, somebody is saying, you're going to create something of your own. And I was like, huh. And then I went to a fundraiser event, and there was an auction, and the auction item was a villa in the Dominican Republic. And everybody at the table that I was sitting at they were saying, Barbara, buy that villa. You can do a retreat. You can do a retreat in the Dominican Republic. I'm like, no way. I just spent a whole lot of money on Bob's certification program. I have to focus on that right now. And within 2 minutes, the auctioneer said, sold, to the man at the back. And that man came running up to me. He put his hands on my shoulders and he said, this is my gift to you. And I didn't really know him very well. He went to my spiritual center. I had maybe had about 5 conversations with him. He bought the auction item of the Dominican Republic villa. So I had 10 days available to me at a very, very wealthy resort in the Dominican Republic. And it slept 15 people. And then I realized, oh my goodness, now I have to do something. Oh, what am I going to do? And I remember going to a mastermind group of mine and I was saying, I'm not exactly sure what program I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And within a week, a person came to me with 35 pages that she had written for me, and she put it in front of me and she said, "This is your program you're going to do in the Dominican Republic. I've watched your videos, I've read your book, I've listened to your CDs, I've taken your classes, I've been in your workshops. Here's all your material right here." And I went, "Oh my gosh, I've got to do this. I really have to do this." And I kept finding all the paradigms were saying, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing," right? Because I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready. And then I was talking about, oh, now I have to market myself. I've got to sell myself. I've got to sell the program. I don't know how to do that. And the terror barrier was just kicking in high gear. And then somebody came to my mastermind and said, "Here's a flyer for you. I made a flyer for you."
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this means I have to do it. I really have to do it. So that all led to, I did a retreat in the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
I think it was 2014, January 2014, with a handful of people who joined me. And, and that was like what one would say completely out of the blue.
Wow.
Was not a part of the plan. And, but I kept saying that affirmation in the mirror, "Bob Proctor, not only am I going to, and even rolling my eyes and resisting it, it still manifested into, something that was quite unexpected.
Wow, but this is very amazing what you said now.
Yes, very amazing. And that's how, it's being open to receiving, as Bob says, generously give and graciously receive, and so that's, we can't do it alone. We just can't do it alone, and even in the law of gestation, I've been saying my goal statement since working with Bob for the last 4 years about taking my work more into corporate, because Thinking into Results is a corporate program. And I work with a lot of individuals and groups. But it's taken 4 years, like all of a sudden, like 2 years into my practice, I started working with lawyers. Then I started working with financial advisors. And I'm like, I don't know anything about financial advising. I don't know anything about law, but I'm working with lawyers. I'm working with financial advisors. I was working with really the people who needed the work. And so now it's just 4 years later that I'm working more with executives in corporate. I'm working more with teams. That's starting to, the gestation period has been quite some time, because I was still getting ready to get ready, but it's moving, I'm allowing more and I'm doing more and I'm leaping more. And that's where it creates a different result.
Wow, amazing. Wow. I'm still with your story with the sharks. I'm thinking about the sharks still.
and I'm still here.
Yes. So somebody wants you to still be here.
Yes.
Can you tell me your story about one specific goal that you managed to accomplish?
So a specific goal, was about really working my business, to have a business rather than just being a coach giving my information away, really honoring and respecting all the education that I've had, all the years of experience that I've had, all the learning that I've had, and that it has value, and, so that we look at goals in terms of like the concrete, right? Because we go from the metaphysical, which is the spiritual realm, into the emotional, the feeling place, into the actual form, right? And to see it in form. But I also like to look at goals in terms of self-worth or self-value, or feeling connected to, an integrated wholeness. And I could say that using the goal of, wanting to double my income or triple my income allowed me to help more people, actually. And and the more people that I was helping, the more money I could receive, and the more value I felt. That it became a recognition of self-worth, of self-value, of that I have something to give, and there needs to be compensation for it. It's energy. It's my energy, and you can't put a price tag on that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put a price tag on understanding that, there's been a lot that has gone into my life, and my teachers and my family and my friends who believe in me. And, who am I not to believe that I've done the work, that I'm, a creator, I'm a co-creator. And it's the ego, right, that lives in fear, just the basic desire for survival. But to be inspired is to be in spirit, and to understand that the laws are there to help us manifest our abundance, our joy, our happiness. And so now I have another goal. And, as I keep moving toward bigger contracts, more people, more presentations. I'm writing a keynote speech right now called Act Your Way to Success. It's the first time in 10 years that I'm starting to link back to my past and all the knowledge that I have in the entertainment world and the acting world. And, really seeing that the missing link for a lot of people is that they're not dropping from conscious state into the emotional vibration and frequency that helps them move into action, which is the acting place, and to activate the feeling place is what's going to create spirit moving into form, into creating, the result in the outer world. And so I'm working right now with Dr. UC on a program called Unlocking Your Genius Code. And we're taking the idea of a goal statement, but we're creating a bigger script out of it. It's kind of, like with my affirmations. And in the script, it'll be about 5 to 7 minutes long. And in our program, we're going to teach people how to write this script. And we're also teaching them how to use what's called a presupposing question, and we're applying neuroscience as well. And Dr. UC, once we've helped everybody design their script, write their script, then Dr. UC is going to add brainwave entrainment. And so we're really exploring reaching the subconscious layers at a much deeper level and passing the conscious filters and barriers to help people, get into the deeper wounds and blocks that are stopping them that they're not conscious of. And so with this method and with this technology, with the brainwave entrainment, we're seeing some great results. I'm feeling great results from it. And so we're working together, and hopefully we're going to be launching the program within the next month.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what we're seeing is that from there, we'll be able to create more programs, unlocking the code of joy, abundance, health, wealth. Right now, we're working with your genius code and what's inside of you that has always been there.
Wow. Amazing. I know Jessie's program, and it's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a very exciting program for me, as well as I just developed another program with a young man who was a client of mine. And in the time that he did Thinking into Results with me, he created his own institute with his brother called the Power Within Institute. And his name is Austin Thomas, and his brother is Josh Thomas. And we've created a visualization course together because I really believe in the power of visualizing, but more importantly, motor imaging, which is really activating the actor's technique And so the visualization course is much more around not just a guided visualization, but how to activate, how to act the part, how to become the thing you say you want to be.
Mm. This,
Yeah. So
it's coming from
yeah,
your
there's a lot of creation.
yes.
I'm sorry?
This idea come from your past with the as a producer. What were you prepared to give up, to sacrifice, to arrive at your goal?
You know, as I said earlier, I discovered that paradigm of getting ready to get ready to get ready. And so what I was really ready to give up, finally give up, was, you know, the ego, actually, and to value, you know, my uniqueness and my education, and that I had a responsibility to myself and to others, and to step into what does it take to lead and to get out of the way in order to uh, help make impact and help create change in the world, as Bob is doing constantly, you know, in evolution and giving back. And to give back to a high degree, I really believe that I had to be willing to get out of the way and stop playing small and listening to the part of me that wanted to remain invisible. You know, therefore, when you asked me to even do this interview, like the part of me that wants to play small and say, I'm not ready, you know, just has to, you know, I'm aware now to let myself, because I'm a recovering perfectionist,
Yes.
you know, let myself be messy, let myself be imperfect, which again, as Bob says, our spiritual DNA is perfect. You
Yes.
know, our spiritual DNA is perfect. And so to inspire others and to motivate others and to live into my highest gifts of insight. I'm highly perceptive. I'm highly intuitive. I have a scientific mind. I can explain well. I'm an amazing teacher. And to really start allowing myself to become a master, which to me, as Bob says, it's living in praxis. Walk your talk. Do what you tell other people to do. I was a great teacher. I told everybody what to do, and they were having tremendous success. They were having better success than me because I wasn't doing what I was telling everybody to do. And I really believe that to become a master of this material is to practice, 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 and do what you tell others to do. So the more that I dedicated myself to that concept and to principle of allowing myself to move out of the way, let the ego, you know, inform me when it needed to inform me, because and fear is important, and fear equals growth. And but it's what we do with it and how we respond to it, and that it takes conscious learning. It takes understanding that we're not always aware, and when we become aware, to become better and to have more, we get to practice and practice and practice and practice until it becomes comfortable. And then when it's comfortable, it's time to look for something that's going to stretch us even more so that we get out of our comfort zone.
Yes. Correct.
I guess I'm willing to say that, you know, every day, you know, Bob says highly successful people step outside their comfort zone.
Mhm.
And so every day I'm willing to step outside my comfort zone.
You know what? These interviews that I'm doing, it's always in the time that is not good for me, because we have such a time difference between us. So most of my interviews in the USA. So it's always come in the times that I'm so tired, that I'm so not in my morning time is my best time, and I'm always keeping repeating to myself, you need to do the things that are not comfortable for you.
Yes.
You do the interview even if you're not feeling perfect, if you're
Yes.
not looking perfect, if your house is not perfect, if your language, your English is not perfect, you're going to do this interview. You do the things because you need to do them, even if it's not comfortable for you. That's how this book and this package is created, from the uncomfortable point.
Bravo.
So you said doing. I'm feeling with these interviews that it's so challenging me to talking English, to do interview, to record the interview. All of this process is really challenging for me, and I'm doing it anyway.
Congratulations, Iqbal.
Yes, this is exactly the point that I can understand you.
It's great.
Sentence,
You
yes.
know, it's like I tell my clients, if you're going to climb a mountain, you don't always see the top, right? You can only see so much in front of you. And then there's fog that might be blocking your view. You don't always see it. It's just, are you willing to keep taking the steps? And are you willing to strategize around the obstacles? And that when you get to the top, you have the result, the feeling is that you did it. You did it. You didn't just take a helicopter and fly to the top of the mountain and land on the top of the mountain to look at the view and then fly away. You actually had to, pull out of you resources you never knew you had, experiences that you never knew were possible, solutions that you didn't even think you could imagine possible, right? And that's what you're doing as you keep on saying, yes, I can do this.
Exactly. What is the one key lesson you can give to everyone who wants to reach his goal?
The key lesson for me is really get clear on what you really, really, really want, and make a decision, to go for it. And when you make that decision, write it out in detail, describe it like it's a scene in a movie. I say to people, are you the star of your own movie? You only get one take, so why not give it your best shot?
Exactly.
And then write that movie in your mind and hold that picture and visualize it. But more importantly is to start becoming it, that you are already it. So take the actions that it takes. Activate the feelings. And to really look at why you want it and what are the feelings that you're going to have as a result of achieving it. Is it a feeling of confidence? Is it a feeling of joy, power, security? And start activating those feelings daily, no matter what. If you want more love, create more love every day. Go, if you love to garden, if you love to bowl, go and bowl. Do the gardening. Let yourself feel the feelings of joy, and from that place, you will be bringing to you more of those like feelings, and more will keep showing up. Be in gratitude daily. Be in gratitude and be messy. Do illogical things. Do things differently. If you keep doing it the same over and over again, you're going to keep getting the same result. So, and we know what that is, right? It's the definition of insanity. And so it's, if we keep, looking at what we already know, will never outperform our self-image. So I like to say to people, if you want to be a highly successful person, how does a highly successful person think? Every day, wake up and say, who am I being today? How do I behave as a $250,000 a year earner, as a $500,000 a year earner, as a $1 million a year earner? How do I think as those people? How do I feel as that person? How do I dress as that person? How do I speak? How do I respond to situations if I had, and it's already here for me to experience? Who am I being right here, right now? And, and sometimes you are going to be a little messy and it's going to be uncomfortable, and know that that's just a part of it, because as soon as you go after something you really, really want, everything is going to try to stop you. Your fears, your doubts, your worries, people around you, circumstances, events, things go haywire, crazy. Your refrigerator breaks down. You get a flat tire. You've got an emergency. You've got to go to the vet. All hell breaks loose because you're making a decision to change. And subconscious mind and ego mind do not like to change. They want to keep us in a pattern of the familiar, of what we already know. Going out of the familiar is very scary. So I like to look at subconscious mind and ego mind as our protectors. They really want to protect us. They're really trying to do for us great things to prevent us from humiliation, from fear, from embarrassment, all of those things, danger. But they're tricky. They're tied into our programs, our limiting beliefs, our DNA, our heritage, our parenting, our education. And so it's really to create from a new place, a new version. And for me, the missing link for a lot of people, I work with, PhDs who don't have jobs because they're stuck in the place of knowledge. They're not dropping into application. They're not dropping into doing. So create success habits. Set yourself up for success. I ask myself every night, am I set up for success tomorrow? I walk into my office. Am I set up for success today? Is it a vibration that feels good? Because our number one responsibility is to feel good. And are you doing everything you can to feel good? And that means even your negative self-talk, that inner critic that's the devil within, as Napoleon Hill says, that wants to keep us the same. What is the dialogue that you're willing to have? Sometimes I like to play with characters, that my paradigms are like Darth Vader, but my new self is Luke Skywalker, and so what's the conversation going to be? And so I'm recognizing all day long that I'm in a battle. I'm in a battle with myself. I'm in a battle with the devil within. And so it's the consciousness that gives power to choosing to respond. And what am I going to do in order to change it? And it takes consciousness. It takes this work to do it.
Barbara, what is your next goal?
Well, as I said, I'm doing the program with Dr. UC. And I would say, though, my biggest goal and the greatest impact that I want to have, I would love to have a reality TV show.
Wow.
Where it's not about me, but it's about consultants, a group of consultants who are working with philanthropists, who go out into a community and select a community project, and we give it 6 months time. And we have people who are there to help facilitate the success of the project. And then we come back 6 months later to film the results.
Wow.
And, so it's a concept of dream weavers. I would love to, help community to start to foster that, it takes a village to raise a child, and we definitely need each other, and we need consciousness to do it.
Wow, amazing. Amazing idea. Did you start moving this idea already?
What I'm doing is, as I create masterminds, I'm looking at every single person in my mastermind as a philanthropist, because I see them as becoming highly successful. And I'm now starting to connect to people who have millions of dollars, who are more philanthropic. And so I'm collecting as I the dream of approaching to be on my reality TV show.
Can you repeat the last sentence? It was like...
I'm approaching these people
Mhm.
so that eventually I'll be asking them to be a part of the reality show.
Great.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe it's the same question, but maybe you have different answer. What would you like to accomplish in your life before you leave it?
Yeah, I think that that's pretty much it, in terms of working with philanthropists. Eventually I become one myself, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and, to really take on that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm growing the tools right now. I'm growing the frequency. I'm growing the level of leadership that it takes, I believe. Um, I'm growing the trust and the faith to be able to build that kind of wealth for myself and to give back. As Bob says, everything here is just on loan. We're just borrowing it while we're here.
This is a nice sentence.
Yes. Yes.
If you had to choose one sentence, you can choose more, that has a lot of meaning for you, what would it be?
It's interesting because the one sentence that always comes up for me is you'll probably, well, let me start it again. The one sentence that comes up for me is you'll probably never know who you are until you discover the parts of yourself that you don't yet know.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never outperform your self-image.
Wow, it's a nice sentence. I don't know, I didn't know this sentence.
No, I created it.
That's why. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And I created it from an experience, as a young actor. I had an experience with a director. He was Romanian and he was very attracted to me, but I was already involved with my husband, and he was trying everything he could to, have a, a passionate relationship with me. And I kept rejecting him and refusing him. And one day he said to me, Barbara, you don't know who you are, and you probably never will. And I was so struck by that comment that I decided to quit acting. It was just too painful. It was just too painful to be that vulnerable. So for years, I resented that man and was angry about his, how mean he was. Not only to me, I saw him be very mean to many people and upset a lot of people. But I held on to that comment, but full circle, I come back around to a different understanding of it. You probably don't know who you are, and you never will, until you discover the parts of yourself that you don't yet know. So now I use it for myself, and I use it to inspire other people, to be in that pain, be vulnerable, be messy, challenge that part, or even when somebody else says something to you, it's just your point of attraction at that time, and they're your greatest teacher. So he, for me, was really my greatest teacher.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Barbara, you're so amazing. Do you have something to add or to tell or to anything that come to your mind that you want to add to this amazing, amazing interview, amazing day and interview?
Thanks, Imbal. All I would like to say is, you know, opportunity meets preparation, and it really does start with mindset. So take the time to acknowledge yourself every day and go to bed acknowledging yourself rather than rethinking all the mistakes you made and all the problems, because your subconscious mind is going to be working on whatever you put into it before you go to sleep. And you want to wake up moving into your day, creating new ideas rather than the same old tape over and over and over again. So I've worked with a lot of successful people who come to me and don't even feel successful. And I was that person. I had great success, but didn't feel successful because it wasn't enough. It was always chasing the pot at the end of the rainbow without acknowledging along the way that I was having success. Some people have 3 homes, 3 cars, $5 million in their bank account, and they don't feel successful. And it's because they're stuck in the past and they're stuck in the future. But there's the present moment, and the present moment is where the power is. And what you give in this moment, right here, right now, is what's creating your future. Your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, right here, right now, are pre-paving your future. So hold a picture, have a positive expectation for the future, but be in gratitude for what you have right here, right now, and acknowledge the good, acknowledge the success within, really value the gifts, your genius code, really value all the education and all the belief that people have held for you in your lifetime, and stay consistent with it. So then you will see that you're pre-paving your future and you will have the results that you dedicate yourself to. But it takes dedication, commitment, persistence, and being aware of the terror barrier that's going to come up and get you back to what you already know and hit the comfort zone and go back to the comfort zone. But as Maslow says, we're either moving toward something or we're moving back to safety.
Mm-hmm. All these words are persistent. It sounds so easy, and doing it's not so easy at all. It's just a small word, but has such a big meaning behind this word.
Yes, huge.
And Barbara, thank you so much. It was amazing for me to know you and to interview you and to hear your story. And it just made me thinking that I just want to hear more and more and more from you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again from your time and your effort. And I know that this interview will influence so many people, and so many people will be inspired by you. So
thank you. Thank you very much.
So
involved. Back to you. You're doing this work and you're creating the same. You're inspiring and motivating, and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.